All right. Joining me on this late night is CA Conservative. As always, happy to have you on.
Thank you.
Um,
You have the very podcaster voice.
yeah, it helps. I'm motivated because my wife's asleep right now, so I want to keep the voice down.
Yeah.
So big news today.
Among many.
Yeah. Well,
Did you celebrate?
I did. Um, did some retweeted some tweets. It's great to know that if Russia is now stupid enough to attack NATO, that Kaliningrad will be a sitting duck, and that St. Petersburg will be vulnerable.
You know that always was meme? Always
Uh,
was.
it always was. Although I only noticed it in the last 2 years.
Oh no, there's no way that place would survive more than 15 minutes, even before
Yeah, I
targets
felt
number one and two.
I always felt it was unjust that that place went to Russia afterwards. I feel like it should have gone to Ukraine or Belarus. Like even Belarus, like my goodness, like why does Russia get the good stuff?
I mean, after they raised it, was there anything around that area even worth looking at?
I mean, it's on the Baltic Sea. It's like Russia's last remaining Baltic stronghold. You know, everything else is NATO now.
It's just good that that is recognized,
Yeah.
and that
So
the
I mean,
usual suspects were not allowed to win.
yeah, that's always nice. It's like the cherry on top. Um, what else is going? Oh yeah. In more depressing news, looks like the nominations for the both parties are set.
There's another always was joke in there.
Yeah. I mean, still, I mean, you're kind of your party considers you to be the incumbent president, and yet you're only polling 50, like 60% of the vote in South Carolina.
Basically.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing that when you get to the closed primaries, he's probably going to do better, but still, I if Nikki Haley's not dropping out now, she's probably going right to the convention, isn't she?
Probably. She's
You
getting
know,
all the donations. Who cares? I mean, she never had a chance regardless.
but I mean, she strikes me like as another Liz Cheney, someone who's like willing to blow up her political career to say the truth
I mean, she
and
didn't have one to begin with.
I mean, she
She's been out of, I mean, the last time she was elected was what, 10 years ago? She didn't
yeah.
have a career.
And although many people thought that when Trump, before he actually won, many thought that when he inevitably lost, which he ultimately didn't, that Nikki Haley would be like a really good contender to run the next time.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people. I disliked her back in the day, and I still dislike her. Personally, I mean,
You think she's a sleazeball or I don't know?
not in the slightest. She never did all that well. I don't like
Yeah.
people who put South Carolina within single digits.
Well, I haven't actually seen like what her margins were in the governor's races.
Those are the wrong years to be for it to be getting close.
So let me pull up that information now. Oh wow, she won by 4.5 against I must say a conservadem who ran in 2010.
So they all were.
Um, no, she won by double digits in 2014,
Yeah, but it should have been by like, uncontested margins.
if only. Um, wow, she lost Charleston County in 2014. Um, interesting. Because Nikki Haley's strongest area like was Charleston like last Saturday. She pulled
Let's just say a lot of people forget what she was doing back in the day.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'm I always wonder, like, what is it you dislike about her? Because there are people I've heard of who dislike Nikki Haley because they see her as a sleazeball, someone who, quote unquote, like, basically level the same charge that many do at Kamala Harris, which is essentially that she slept her way to the top.
Oh, I couldn't care less if people do that. I just don't like people who make races close. Of course, Harris has the same problem, nearly losing in 2010.
I
So,
mean, yeah, I mean, I don't believe any of those rumors. And
even if they were true, it's like, who cares? You use the advantages you have, right?
right. Um, but I mean, I guess I hope more for more out of her. I mean, of the candidates running, I think she was always, I think a lot of movement conservatives, like Eric, were really hoping more from her.
Just say Eric is usually on the wrong side of issues like this. Correct generally, but he has very poor taste in candidates.
I mean, well, I would say most Republicans have poor taste in candidates.
In many places, yes. Although I suspect, aside from the top, this year has been going very well so far.
Yeah, although in the Senate, I think there's a lot to be desired. I think the candidate issues you've been seeing in the Senate are the reason why you don't see much competition beyond the red states like Ohio, Montana, even Texas might drift onto the board.
It may, it won't this time. I mean, I think getting somebody good in Montana, ideally getting somebody good in Ohio,
I don't think
and
that's gonna, I think Ohio looks like we're not gonna get someone good.
I mean, 2 out of the 3 candidates are fairly reasonable, are they not?
Yeah. But the guy who's leading
Is he
is,
leading?
he has the Trump endorsement.
So,
I mean, that JD Vance was in fifth place when Trump endorsed him.
I mean, the fact that, I mean, I see Emerson here still has it within a few points for literally everybody. Um, it's just more evidence, I think, of, I mean, and hopefully everybody can get behind LaRose since I don't think Dolan can win.
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, the last poll I saw a narrow lead for Moreno.
Yeah. I don't know if Dolan knows how to get out of the way, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of hoping more from Dolan. Like, I think there was like he seemed to be surging at the end, but in the end he placed third, like last time.
He's the Liz Cheney of
Yeah.
Ohio.
Yeah. I, I which means he's my kind of candidate, which means he's gonna lose.
I mean, I think performative centralism is a total waste of everybody's time.
Yeah.
I think there's no
I'm
point to that, and it's generally speaking just going to get you to lose, which is, of course, the whole point of it.
but I
People
would
like
argue
that
that
want to fall down on their sword, you know?
but I would argue Liz Cheney was far from a centrist. She had a 96% conservative record.
Yeah, but we all know that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Um, who do you think the vice president pick is going to be on the Republican side?
Difficult to say, honestly.
Yeah.
Depends which faction wins.
Yeah. Elise Stefanik looks like she's really thirsty for the job.
Who?
Elise Stefanik?
Oh,
Um,
well, they're both from New York, aren't they?
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
problem. Well,
yeah.
is it? No, actually, it's not a problem. I
No,
take that back.
Trump is actually a Florida resident now.
But even if he was New York, all that would mean is that he can't win New York's votes. Somehow, I don't think that's going to happen. So,
Right.
don't think I'd be all that worried about it.
Yeah. By the way, I think DeSantis is unlikely to be the pick because Trump would then have to move back to New York.
That's not going to be him. He wouldn't take it even if offered.
Yeah. You think so?
Would you? I mean, isn't it kind of a demotion, governor to VP?
I guess so, yeah. Um, so I mean, and so I just don't, yeah, it's hard to say at this point who it's going to be. I just, I'm actually seriously looking at the libertarian candidate right now. Um, I think there was someone who's running on the libertarian ticket who, if he gets the nomination, I think it'd be the first time in like a really long time that the libertarians actually run someone good. His name is Chase Oliver, I think.
I mean, Gary
Uh,
Johnson looked good for all of about 5 seconds. Does he not count?
you mean Gary, what is Aleppo Johnson?
Yeah, as I said, for the 5 seconds before that comment.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he was a pretty good governor of New Mexico.
A long, far away time. Okay, what? Two, okay.
Um, so going as elsewhere in the world, I guess Hamas in Gaza only has like one stronghold left at this point. I believe that's Rafah.
What's that community along the south, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like along the border with Egypt, the border that Egypt built a wall along.
Yeah. Which perhaps gives you confidence in their ability to control the area.
Yeah. Um, so I mean, it's kind of, it's the question I ask everyone like on this topic, which is how many Palestinians have to die before Hamas lays down their arms?
All of them.
Yep.
Honestly, they've been significantly kinder than I would have been.
The
I
IDF,
expected I expected 500,000 dead by now.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's only 40,000 people in Gaza who really deserve to be dead.
Yeah, but bombs generally don't discriminate.
So, I mean, um, I guess the question is like, at what point, like how long, much longer, before, because it seems like the war is almost over at this point,
Assuming they can finish them off.
which in my opinion should have been what they did like 10 years ago when you had the kidnapping of those three boys.
I think this required an attack like we saw. I don't think they would have gotten away with what they've done on just even a few killings or on all the rocket attacks in the world.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm very curious to know what's going to happen after Hamas falls. Like, what's going to happen to the territory? You've heard like differing opinions about what should be done with it. Like, should it be handed back to the PA? Should Israel administer it?
There's no administering it. It's not possible.
You have an entire generation that's been taught to hate and
Couple of generations. There's nothing there to govern. They don't have an economy. They don't have even a society.
isn't it
So,
amazing that there was so much promise when Israel withdrew that it was going to basically
was there?
it was going to be Dubai on the Mediterranean.
Yeah, I think anybody who thought that was kidding themselves, which of course is why the Israeli left no longer exists. They
Yeah.
were wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean, my dad was actually a peacenik back in the 1990s. But everything that's happened, like particularly in the last like 10 years or so, he's like very hard right now on stuff like this.
It wouldn't be. Even the opposition's even more radical than the government on these questions.
Yeah. I mean, I I think the only thing holding back the Israeli right now is Netanyahu himself.
Of course. Well, I mean, all of them. There's no denying that they were all responsible, holding the buck on that day, and then dropped it.
Yeah. Do you
They
think
all
they
have to
spent
pay for that.
do you think they spent too much time on the settlements and not on the border with Gaza?
I mean, as I think I said in October, that's where I would have considered the biggest threat to be, even without the development of these settlements. That's where I would have said the threat could be and that the barrier could never be penetrated. Turns
Yeah.
out there's a price for being wrong,
Hmm.
which is fine unless you make your whole identity being that no, bad things will never happen, which is, of course, why I would never say that.
Yeah. I think we have to always plan for the worst on things like this. What else has been happening in the world?
No clue. I don't know if I've ever been less informed than I am now. I've been just outrageously busy the last few months.
Yeah, there was an election in Indonesia that I wasn't following, but apparently there's legitimate worries about the guy who won.
Really? I thought he looked like the best candidate.
Really? Hmm.
Hard
Uh,
anti-communist.
although he might be authoritarian himself, like in the other way.
Oh, I mean, that's probably fine, right?
Right. It's like
Pretty on
it's
character for them.
it's like was the other candidate in that election a communist?
Kind of a INC kind of leftist.
It's
They
funny
weren't
because
even close to being, they weren't even close to winning.
I would have figured that the debate in Indonesia would be along Islamist versus non-Islamist lines.
Well, I mean, did you see the regional breakdown of the result?
I haven't. Do you want me to
That there
let you
were
share?
significant regional differences in terms of the vote.
Mhm. Interesting. Um, then is it like the usual urban rural or is it like more than that?
No, it's on different Islamist schools.
Interesting.
Yeah, can't say I'm an expert, but they do have the exit poll in the Wikipedia article.
Okay, so um let's see. Jarindra is okay, nationalist right-wing populist. Um the oh, they're still counting interest. So it's according to this, they're still counting. They only have they still have they're only like 77% of the way counted. They they count slowly. Wow.
A lot of votes to count.
Yeah.
127 million.
Yeah. Although I think Brazil had almost that amount and they were
Jesus, I
done
just looked at the president will be inaugurated October 20th. So
like
it's not like It's not as if they're rushing.
yeah, true. Um kind of like Mexico, like they elect their president in June, but they don't take office until December.
Yeah, supposed to be
Hmm.
worse than that.
Yeah. I always wonder why these Latin American countries have like such long transition periods.
To deal with the rounds and to deal with the civil war that sometimes happens afterwards. Always want to build that into the calendar.
Yeah. Um, I mean, speaking of Brazil, like, isn't it awful that in 2022, the choice was between a fascist and a communist?
Sounds about right. Can't say I'm ever surprised.
I'm hoping that the options are better the next time. I'm hoping Lula is a one-term president and that you have two normal candidates.
You might want to consider a different hobby with such optimism. It'll be burned out of you quickly.
Yeah, I
Although I
figures.
have been pleasantly surprised by the new president to the south of Brazil.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's interesting. I was cautiously optimistic when he won. He's actually big in my community because he wants to convert to Chabad Judaism when he's done being president.
Didn't he already try to convert?
I think he I think he visited the grave of the Rebbe, but I don't think he's actually made the move yet.
Oh,
I, he also visited the Western Wall in Jerusalem, I believe. And
sounds
it
about right.
just so happened at the same time that two hostages were released who were Argentinian.
That's nice.
How is it that Argentina has emerged as the beacon of stability in that part of the world?
I mean, it hasn't. So that's the easy part.
But I mean, like, I think for the first time, Argentina has like a really and really good government. Like, I think the legislature flipped to the right 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, so it'll be interesting to see how things go.
Just have to get that package through, or more precisely, stop it from being overridden. I think that's next week.
um, is there anything? I can't think of anything. This might be a short episode, given like how little like we're caught up on things.
I mean, technically, if we wanted to catch up, it'd be what, 6 months? Don't think we've done this in a while.
Yeah, I mean, well, there were midterms where it was yet another disappointing night for Republicans.
Yeah,
Um,
unless you're in
um,
Florida or California.
yeah, I mean, isn't there going to be another recall in California?
Doubt it.
Yeah.
Nobody's
What ha
paying for that.
wait, was there local elections in California last year?
The recalls,
Well, uh,
those are
which
successful.
which ones? San Francisco?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
that was a
remember the
good
ones.
night.
Remember the ones like 2 years ago, like where you had like three members of the San Francisco Board of Education get recalled.
Yeah, and then they recalled the district attorney.
Mhm. Yeah, I think progressives overstepped in San Francisco.
Still doing it. They're very good at it.
Although, mind you, I think Democrats now control the Board of Supervisors in both Orange and San Diego counties.
Yes. They got very. We've been getting too lucky in Orange and couldn't keep the luck going.
I mean, what's the mayor's situation like across? Like, I think I would imagine that there are some towns that have actually been trending right because of the large Vietnamese populations. Like, there have actually been towns in Orange County that Republicans have been seeing some success in.
I mean, just more like holding on. Very competitive. It's been interesting. I know one of the local candidates that none of the usual suspects like, but that he's still up despite his DUI. He should be easy to beat. So that's exciting at least.
Yeah. Um, if I had to guess where the competitive races are going to be, I'm imagining it's Juan Darte, David Valadeo, Mike Garcia.
All of the usual suspects, basically.
Yeah, basically Valadeo, Garcia, Juan Darte, Young Kim, Michelle Steele. And I apparently Ken Calvert might also be competitive.
He didn't do that well last time. I don't know if that trend will continue. Difficult to say.
Mhm. Um, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean, because California arguably bailed out the Republican majority in 2022.
Not arguably, it did. It in
Yeah,
Florida.
and New York.
Yeah. So, pure irony across the board.
Yeah. Because like, by the way, what on that election, and I have to say, the moment when I realized, holy cow, things are Republicans are really underperforming. It was in Ohio, Amelia Sykes winning in Ohio. I was expecting Madison Gilbert to win that one. So when Amelia Sykes was called the winner, I was like, holy cow. Like
I mean,
this
just a
is
litany of really trash tier candidates.
yeah. Like and then Wiley Nickel, like, winning in North Carolina.
Yeah, although luckily we'll be purging that lot this time.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I, it's you know me, I'm not a big fan of how state legislatures drawing their own lines.
No alternative. And luckily,
Yeah.
continues at the same pace. So,
Um, yeah,
that'll be fun. No, it's gonna just be a total shit show.
yeah.
It's probably gonna be the
Um,
lowest turnout election we've had in 100 years.
President really this year? Wow.
Does
You think
anybody
so?
care?
I mean, the lowest I can remember was 1996.
I
I
mean,
think
this
what?
is gonna be worse than that. Basically, nobody likes this, right?
Mhm, what-
Nobody, but for some, nobody likes anybody, and yet somehow they don't care.
mhm.
which is just kind of funny.
Yeah. I'm curious to know though, I mean, because after 9/11, there was a turnout spike. So
Sounds
um
about right.
curious to know like because usually turnout spikes like that can are sustainable. So you know, and so I would imagine that there's not gonna be that big a turnout drop. I think, because there was such a big turnout spike in 2020, and what the stat I heard was 2020, largest turnout since 1900.
Sounds about right. It's not going to be not going to be difficult to lose to that.
Hmm.
But it's
Um,
just like, who cares? It's obvious that nobody does.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I mean, would it be any different though if it were like different candidates on both sides?
Yeah, actually be a fun race.
Yeah. I actually wonder if I was reading Rachel Bidekoffer's book about how, most Americans are just tuned out of politics. And I'm wondering if if that's by design, like the people like in the media, like and in politicians try to make it so depressing that the average American kind of just is turned off from it.
I mean, that's usually desirable, but here the mechanism to arrive at that is exceptionally destructive.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Um,
want people to be disinterested because, the elites are running everything, and that's good. We don't want them to be turned off because they keep making the wrong decision and they don't understand why pressing the same button doesn't change anything.
yeah. Um, so I mean, but usually low turnout benefits the Republicans, but in the last few years, it's been benefiting Democrats.
It's not going to benefit anybody this time around. Not at the kind of low turnout we're talking about here.
I'm actually curious to know if there's what what trends will like. I'm curious to know what the numbers in the Rio Grande Valley are going to be like, whether more counties flip red
Does it
or
matter?
I mean, I feel like it's going to matter if Republicans want to keep their hold on Texas.
I
I
mean,
mean
that's
that
not where Texas is going to be won or lost.
mhm. I have a few counties that are on flip watch. Um, one of which is Fayette County, Georgia. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yeah, just outside the city.
Yeah. Um, Spotsylvania County, Virginia.
That didn't already flip?
I think it was like Trump plus like less than 7. Stafford was the one that flipped. Um, I have Delaware County, Ohio, and Hamilton County, Indiana. Um, I'm also gonna keep an eye on Denton and Collin County, Texas. Um, I'm also gonna be curious about um what's the name of the county that Fayetteville, Arkansas is in? I'm gonna be watching that one.
No clue. Unless it's
Uh,
called Fayetteville.
um, sorry, I've got something in my eye right now. It's like late.
But, I mean, it's just a question of who loses the most support. And each side's doing a really good job at that question.
Yeah.
Almost
Uh,
impressive, quite
it
frankly, how much
it's
each side wants to throw the race away.
yeah, like I'm actually wondering like is this like they trying to lose or is it that Trump recognizes that if that Kennedy's probably going to take more support from Biden, so um if he's so that Trump can see how like it's like i- is it like a race to be the second worst candidate in this race?
Basically.
Yeah, it's truly depressing to think about. But I mean, it is what it is. Like I'm just part of me just wants to go into a coma for the next 8 months and just get woken up like a week before the election.
Week after, more like.
Yeah.
It's just
Um,
one of those things that's like, who cares? It's almost kind of impressive, you know.
yeah.
I would have thought it would have been fairly. Have you seen the South Park of the 2016 debate? It's basically like that. Each side is trying to throw the race away, and they just will not let them do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I'll
like,
watch that again.
okay.
Um, so I think we pretty much covered much of what there was to talk
Yeah. Well, I
about.
mean, obviously it's another bad week for Peter Pollier.
Really? Oh, really? Pierre Polyev, or like what
Yeah, I
happened to
can't say
him?
his name. No, 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 but you haven't seen the meme?
Um, Not really.
Oh, the joke is they keep saying it's another bad week, but he keeps going up in the polls.
Yeah, because I was about to say like
That's the
338,
joke.
338 Canada has the Conservatives winning a majority at 94% odds.
Which is honestly low. It's kind of impressive how they've managed to basically guarantee that they win.
Yeah, I mean, people I think are done with Trudeau. Um,
And there's no point. And they're actually sane and talking about the right things.
I think Republicans can take a lesson from the Tories in Canada.
Almost definitely. And a lesson of how not to do things from the Tories in the UK.
Oh my goodness, like it's how is it that the Tories in the UK can be somehow conservative in name only and still be unpalatable?
Because they're not conservative in only the wrong ways.
Yeah.
That's the
Uh,
impressive part.
I sometimes wonder if Sunak should just call the election early and put every,
Oh
like get
no. Just like Major, you take it to the last moment and then you get destroyed. I'd just be trying to stay above about 150 seats.
right. All right. I
Actually, the
think
kind
we
of funny part is, given the way the polls are going, they could probably get or go below 200, but still win a couple seats in Scotland
my goodness.
because the
Um,
SNP is down that far.
I am excited to see the S&P collapse.
If they haven't already, as if they haven't already.
Anyway, I think it's probably a good time to cut it right here.
Oh, really?
You think so? I don't know. I mean, I think I got my eyes are kind of drying out. I think I should probably get to bed.
Yeah, it is what 10:30
It
in
is.
your time zone.
It's
What a shame.
right. Where can people follow you?
Always on the platform that will always be known as Twitter.
Always known as Twitter at CA Cameron GOP. Go
Yeah.
check them out.